to that moment when they are on. I have a couple of announcements to make. The first one is that we are, as you all know, less than a month away. Hello, the meeting has started. We are less than a month away from a very crucial election. I don't have to tell any of you how very crucial that election is. So I would like to ask Daniel Payne, who is with the Julia for Congress campaign, to just speak to you for one little minute about that.
Okay, thanks everyone. Thank you so much for letting me come out and talk. So, yeah, Julia Brownlee for Congress, and this is the final days of the campaigning, and we really need all the help we can get. We expect it to be an incredibly close election, less than 1% making the difference. So it's going to come down to probably less than 4,000 votes. So, in any individual shift, you're going to talk to about 0.5% of those. So we really need that help. And we can definitely tell you that every door you knock and every phone call you make is making the difference that we need to finally get a Democrat in the 26th district after more than 25 years of Elkin Gallagher. We don't want another 25 years of Tony Strickland or someone like him. So please come out and join us. Our office is just down the road, 141 South 8th Street, Suite 202 upstairs. It's, where the Rabobank building is. So please come and join us. Sign the sign-up sheet that's going around, please, and please support Julia Brownlee and our chance to have a Democratic member of Congress. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daniel. Did you bring any information? Thank you. We have the good governors prepared slates that you can take out walking. There are blue slates, and there are on the table, I think, next to the name tags. Is that, Carol, are they still there? Yes. They are blue slates. Those are in English. Tomorrow, I'll be printing out the ones in Spanish. Thanks to Vianney. We have a perfect Spanish translation, and they will be printed out tomorrow. And please contact me at my email address, ruthcapel@gmail.com, if you want the Spanish version to hand out as you are walking. This is the first time I think that we have an extensive list of propositions also in Spanish. The list of events, and there are so many, I can't keep up with them, on the website. Check the website periodically, but also check. The Star has today, for example, an event next week, Channel Islands, about an analysis, the politics of now, and what happened. Tim Hurt wrote this. What happened in the mind of the scholars if the Republicans should win. And it is more than freaky. It is absolutely horrifying. So read that and keep on acting against it, because that's all we can do. And finally, for our members after the break, would you please stay? We have a little business to take care of where your vote will be needed. Thank you very much. And with that, I'd like to introduce our first Vice President, Bill Gallagher, who is in charge of the program. And I'll let him take it from there. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening. Not used to the bright lights of the camera here. Just a couple things before we get started. I want to make clear that wasn't clear at the beginning of the meeting last month. The Greater Oxnard organization of Democrats are Democrats. It's a Democratic club. We don't endorse one Democrat over another. All we do is bring Democrats that are running for office before our membership, give them an opportunity to speak to the membership, and then let the membership decide what Democrat they vote for. So that's pretty much what the Good Club is about. There was a little bit of a misunderstanding last month, and we were kind of interrupted and with the demand to let someone else speak. It was a mayor candidate who was a Republican. The man was welcome to come inside, listen to everybody else, but we only let Democrats speak to Democrats, and that's what we've done forever. And to some degree, the Good Club kind of wears that as a badge of honor because we're promoting all Democrats. So having that been said, just two more little kind of housekeeping things. First of all, everything you see on the walls is for sale. but also please treat it with respect. All the artwork, be careful. A lot of times it's on display on a table or something like that, so just be careful with that. And last of all, something that I want to bring up, it's something that I have to say, it's sad that we have to do this. For the entire existence of the Good Club, for the entire existence of Cafe on A, last month a purse was misplaced. It was, we believe, on the benches in the back there, and it was lost, misplaced, stolen, whatever it was. So please be careful with your personal items. We did have a very large crowd at that meeting. Usually at the beginning of the meeting you'll say introduce guests. It's not really so much the guests that are on the program. It's other people in the room that aren't members. We usually ask them to stand up and identify themselves. We didn't do that at that meeting because it was so crowded, and we didn't do it tonight because there's quite a few that are probably not members that are guests. So having that been said, watch your purse, and I don't think, it's like I said, it's the first time it's ever happened. I hope it never happens again. What we're going to do is, and I haven't really, no one's checked in with you, but I'm going to list the names of the candidates that we've identified, and if we miss somebody, please raise your hand and tell me right now. Bert Perello, Vince Behrens, Orlando Dozier, Martin Jones, Larry Stein, Richard Carrillo, Daniel Martinez, and Rudy Salvio.
And Manuel Vasquez.
And Manuel Vasquez. Okay, someone else, yes.
Shay Ford.
Okay. And both of you are City Council of Oxnard candidates, correct?
Correct. Right.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 candidates and about 75 minutes. So let's just do this. We're going to give each candidate 5 minutes to speak, introduce themselves, talk about their campaign, whatever they want to do in that 5 minutes. I'll tell them at 5 minutes that they're at 5 minutes. If they want to stop and take questions from the floor, we'll give them 3 or 4 minutes to do that. If they don't want to take questions from the floor, then they can continue talking for 3 more minutes. We'll cut everybody off at about 8 minutes. And I think we'll kind of stay within our time frame. If we go a little bit over, that's okay. If we go a little bit under, we can open it up for questions or something like that again. So does that sound fair to all the candidates? Is that okay? Okay, and what I want to do first is I want to invite Martin Jones to come up first for City Treasurer. He's the only Democrat running, and so Martin Jones, please come up and address the membership.
Well, good evening, everyone. I am Martin Jones. I have lived in this city since 1970. I'm going to make a point, I hope. There are 3 major parties in the United States: the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, and the criminal party. It doesn't really matter how you're registered if you're a member of the criminal party. You only know by their actions. The actions of the City Council, some members of the City Council, clerk and treasurer have been open to question, big questions. The City of Bell and the District Attorney investigations have pretty much verified a story that I've been trying to sell for 10 years, and that is the City of Oxnard is corrupt. I say it's the most corrupt city in California, the most corrupt city of its size in California. I've watched it close up for a long time. Fred Roseman, just down the street, I would go to him and I'd say, "Fred, I'd like a public records request." And Fred would say, "What good would that do?" And I would say, "Let's do it and find out." So Fred has probably written for me maybe 150, maybe even 200 public records requests. And they have, over a period of time, accumulated quite a log of what I consider as corruption. I'll give you an example as far as the city treasurer is concerned. The city treasurer has a base pay of $137,000 as of 2 years ago. That doesn't include PARs, PERS, and other benefits. So it's over $200,000. The state minimum would be somewhere around 40,000. When you look at that, you might understand why the treasurer has dispersed millions of dollars without legal authorization. We can go back to the prior incumbent, Dale Belcher. One deal, as I explained earlier to a lady here, it was, the one appraisal on the property was for $1 million. Oh, I was explaining that, and it's convoluted, but in fact we ended up paying $13 million of our taxpayers' money for property that was appraised at $1 million. If I'm elected treasurer, that will not happen without open questioning. Recently we have the post-retirement supplemental benefits. Well, one, post-retirement supplemental benefits, what is that? You're paying somebody for doing something that they don't do? So we have that. And that amounts to over $150,000 now, and there wasn't legal authorization to make those disbursements. So this is the sort of thing that we really want to pay attention to, and I will, and I'll take it a step further. As far as what an elected treasurer, by the way, the difference between an appointed treasurer and an elected treasurer, one does what they're told and is a rubber stamp. The other, in California, there is law. There's a body of law that says this is what an elected treasurer in California does. I really believe that the present incumbent never read it, didn't know that. But I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. What an elected treasurer can do is when you see something, such as that land deal, $1 million, $13 million for $1 million land deal, you can talk to the council members and say, did they really want to do this? You would know about it before it's on the agenda. You would know about it and be able to raise questions. And then what I would do, if in fact they still want to go forward with some kind of bad deal, I would talk to the U.S. Attorney. I would talk to the Attorney General. I would eventually talk to the District Attorney, probably wouldn't do much. And then if nothing happened, then I would address the public at the podium, which I have done on a number of occasions. So there are things you can do as an elected officer, an elected treasurer. And some of us know very well Jane Tomac. Jane Tomac told me years ago, if you're elected, you can get an appointment with anybody. And I would use that. I would make sure that my voice was heard elsewhere other than the city council meetings at the podium. And I think that is one way to stop the corruption in this city. And it is corrupt. There were 34 search warrants. I read 24 of them and photocopied many pages of the affidavits. I have put them as email attachments online. Now, if anybody wants that information, just give me your email address and I will send them to you.
3 more minutes, Martin.
Okay. Any questions? Oh, come on. I'm full of answers, yes.
I know we've been spending money on EDCO and also on the golf course.
EDCO is a slush fund, pure and simple. EDCO has replaced licensing and fees in this city. EDCO, I've talked to a woman down at the harbor who opened a business, I think a donut shop or something. And I said, what did it cost you to engage EDCO in getting your license? And she said, nothing. It didn't cost me anything. Well, the way that works is simple. We, the taxpayers, give EDCO the money, and then they tell the city to issue a license, permit, or fee. So the licensing in this city is done with your taxpayers' money. It costs the business nothing. Well, I got a business license, and it did cost me $200 and some, which I don't, big deal. But that's EDCO. What was the other part? The golf course. I love that. I went to Fred about 2001, and I said, the golf course is being subsidized. And he said, and I said, it's losing money. It loses $1 million a year. And he said, no. Everybody says it's profitable. I then asked him if he knew what the golf course pays for water annually. And he said, no. And I said, $1,200. And he said, You mean monthly? I said, no, annually. He said, I pay $400 a month for my quarter acre. And he said, can you prove it? And I said, yes. So I went home, got the comprehensive annual financial report, showed it to him. It was $990,000 in parentheses. So that 1 year it lost $1 million. Well, that's when there were just 18 holes. When we added the second holes, the manager of the golf course, Otto Kenny said, he said, we're only building the second 18 holes so the developer can sell his houses around the golf course. Now the loss is about $2 million a year, and we're paying for it. So what we're doing is we're paying $2 million a year for 3,000 white guys to play golf. Well, maybe it's worthwhile. Golf courses are kind of aesthetically pleasing. Yes?
What would happen is, when you're elected and we stop subsidizing that golf course, what will happen to it? Because it obviously can't carry itself.
No, I'm not saying that we won't subsidize the golf course. I'm just saying that's what's happening. Yes?
How much longer is the city manager going to be on paid administrative leave?
Till his contract term runs out.
Which is?
Several months.
February.
February, there you are.
The theater, Martin, the theater.
Sorry, everybody, that's this time. But I'm sure Martin will be around afterwards to speak.
The budget, we all know about that, right? Okay, anyways, that could impact us, and we need Democrats there, so let's get Brownlee in there. Now about me, I'm a retired D&D investigator. Yes, the Department of Motor Vehicles has investigators. I have a master's degree in criminal justice, bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I've served the people of California for 26 years, and I'm retired. Public service is my background. I was a teacher. I taught at San Diego State at one time. That didn't work out. I taught in public schools. It didn't work out. Didn't like it. It wasn't me. I was a patrolman for the city of Calexico for a little while. I was a jailer, a dispatcher. So law enforcement seemed to work out for me. I am running for City Council of Fort Hueneme. Again, my history is public service. I believe that I can use my skills. If a consumer or a citizen complains about a pothole in front of this house, I'll go to this house personally and argue that case with the city council. I don't know if you've been to Fort Hueneme. Fort Hueneme has similar issues. I'm sure you've been to Fort Hueneme. That's stupid. But anyways, has similar issues. We have streets that need maintenance. We have water issues. There are some people that argue that the water rates were increased by, as you know, you may not know, they were increased by negative ballot. You guys know what a negative ballot is? You're mailed out a ballot. If you don't answer it, it's a yes. That's how they raised our water rates down there. Considering the two people I'm running against who are Republicans, when they ran for office, they said that they would not raise taxes, and they raised it in that fashion. Anyways, I've also served nonprofits. I've served the Good Club, and I was also I'm endorsed by the Democratic Central Committee.
So you can take questions or continue talking.
Questions? Anybody from Fort Hueneme got a question for me?
What would you like to be asked? What would you like to talk about?
I need help. I need help. I have signs to issue. I would like Good Club members. I'd like to put signs on your property. I would like to have coffees at with your people in your neighborhoods. I've hit all the houses twice. I'm talking Fort Hueneme, Oxnard. I'm working on the third time, so I need help.
Richard, curious, how many people here are Fort Hueneme voters? Show of hands. Okay, thank you.
I'll drop a sign on. Sir.
How would you bring revenue to the city, like business-wise, tourism? How would you?
Well, the city of Fort Hueneme is an interesting city. If you talk to somebody about bringing in tourism, they may say, I'm going to vote for you because you're going to do that, or I'm going to vote against you because you're going to ruin my neighborhood. The city needs revenue. It desperately needs revenue. If you go down Fort Hueneme, you go down the market area, there's a lot of vacancies. And by the way, I was thinking of using that as a campaign thing. As you recall the debate, Mitt Romney kept on jumping on Obama for the economy collapse. Well, the current GOP incumbents, well, they haven't done anything to fill those vacancies. The city down there needs revenue. Anyways, what I was thinking of doing was trying to work with the other cities. That's why I like to see the other city council candidates here. Work with Oxnard, try to build the market area, the Kmart vacant area there. That's a blighted area. It damages our market because people, as they come in, they see a blight, they may not come into our markets. You have the Channel Islands, which is a county thing, and maybe I can talk to John if I get elected, and work with John to get that fixed up. And then you have the area in back where the old Vons also work that. That's North Hemlock, Victoria Street, and try to get that out. And the internal part, I believe that the idea is, we have the universities, we have people that can help us get this together. I am not a businessman. I don't believe government should do business. I believe we look for experts to help us do business. The Chamber of Commerce has been there for a long time. They have not been able to do it. So I think we would look for help from the outside. Anybody else? Yes?
I have two questions. I don't live in Hueneme. I live right on the border of Hueneme and Oxnard. My first question is, what would you do to ensure that we don't lose the base, the naval base? My second question is, what happened with the city manager? I mean, my God, we're losing every city manager in every city in the county, and today the paper said the city manager of what Hueneme's gone. What's going on?
The base is in Port Hueneme. If you were to say you're going to go against the base, that's a.
No, I didn't say go against the base. I said keep the base.
No, I understand, but what I'm saying is in Port Hueneme, if you were to even suggest that, it would be a death sentence. You would never get elected. The political reality is the base is temporary. Or is it? Is it permanent? Temporary. I mean, we lived through the BRAC. Remember the BRAC thing? And I just mentioned earlier you have the sequester issue coming up. The sequester happens, the federal government is going to cut military severely. So we may end up losing the base. So what would I do to continue to keep the base? I would again be talking to my senators, that's why I want Julia to get elected. I would be talking to Diane and Boxer. We would be actively, progressively jumping and yelling and screaming and getting people involved to get the thing to stay. However, I realize that it may not stay, and that's why I would like to increase the market area. Because Port Hueneme, a government needs revenue to exist. And if the government there exists with revenues from the base only, and if the base goes away, then Port Hueneme is going to turn into go down the tube with government. So my view is to try to save or continue to keep the base, but at the same time try to wean off the money coming from the base if we can, or build ourselves up. The city manager question, that's fresh information. It's just come out in the paper. They've had some hearings on it. There's been some suggestions as to what, there's some dispute over the police chief and some internal issues. My campaign has told me other things, for example, the water issue. The water issue is that people have gone to the city manager, and I had a lady actually tell me she cried in front of the city manager asking for help. The water is hurting the people of Port Hueneme. There's lawns, there's people not watering their lawns. And when you don't water your lawn, we have code enforcement. That's, I'm sure you guys have. And code enforcement may come to your property and say, hey, you're turning this neighborhood into a blight, do something, that kind of. So,
last question.
Last question. I apologize for going to, I drank a lot of coffee.
So what is the
That affected the coffee.
So what is the major problem you're facing with the city of Port Hueneme besides monetary? I assume.
The major issue.
The most major issue.
In my view, right?
Monetary.
In my view, transparency in government. If you want to solve problems, the people have to be on board to agree to your solution. And if you're turning around and deceive people to this deception scheme to get the water rates up, that was, in my view, a deception scheme. So how is the city government going to come back and say, hey, we want to raise taxes? Will you vote to raise these taxes? And this trust issue is at the federal level, and it's at the state, county, and it's all over the place. I mean, Sotelo is a good example of should we trust city managers. Not to say that Norman was not tying that up there, but anyways, anything else?
That's it.
Thank you, and drink coffee. And I do have listeners.
Okay, now we have 3 candidates for Oxnard City Clerk that are here.
And so they are Daniel Martinez, our incumbent city clerk, Larry Stein, and Jose Torres. Daniel, pick a number between 1 and 10.
7.
Okay, Daniel picked 7. Larry, what do you pick?
2.
Okay, Jose, pick a number.
5.
5. Okay, here's the number. Larry Stein isn't only clairvoyant, but he's right on it. So Larry, you're first.
Clever way of doing it.
I'll pay you later, Bill.
Okay, I don't know if being first is good or not,
There
so
you go.
go ahead.
My name's Larry Stein. I've been involved with Democrats for a number of years. I've been a member of Good Club for a number of years. But more importantly, I've been an active citizen for 20+ years. I've submitted a number of public records requests to get information because it isn't coming forward. The primary purpose of the city clerk is process public records. Information comes in, it's stored, and then eventually distributed. The city clerk is also responsible for the agenda as well as other public documents. My biggest concern is that sometimes the citizens ask for information and it's very hard to get. And what I like to do is do several things. One, try to make information easier to get a hold of. I've been working with city staff for a number of years. I've asked requests from the public record, through public record requests. I don't get the information, so I then have to go out and talk to staff to get information. The public should not have to go through rigorous activities to get public documents. The DA tried getting public documents and had to issue search warrants to get documents that were requested by the city clerk's office. It's the responsibility of the citizens for their own actions. If we don't have active citizens, then we're not going to have an active government. 35% of our community does not speak English. They have the opportunity to, but they decline to do so. Should we make documents available to all citizens of the community? And I say the answer is yes. If we have a more responsive community, they'll be more participative in our activities. So perhaps public documents such as the agenda and staff reports be generated in Spanish. That's not being done now. We have activities that city council members attend. They sit on approximately 25 committees. Does the public ever find out what goes on a regular basis on those committees? The answer is no. One has to attend a task force meeting to find out what's going on, because historically information does not get back to the public. As your city clerk, I'd like to get more information out to the public so the public can understand what's going on. One thing is that I've been researching on financial issues for the city, such as the utility rates and the GRAPE program. And what we don't know, or what most people don't know, is how much of the GRAPE program we're subsidizing through our utility tax dollars and our utility fees. We're paying for water we're not going to be able to get. But does the public care? Does the public know? The public really doesn't care. We have a community of 200,000 people. We have approximately 80,000 voters. We have about 20 people that show up at city council meetings on a regular basis asking questions. I think it's the duty of the city clerk to get more information out to the public so we can be more responsive. That's one of my concerns. We have an issue with closed sessions. We always see city council going to closed session, but we don't know what's going on in closed session. I have findings from the district attorney's office indicating that the city clerk has the right to sit on closed session meetings just to adhere to the fact that the agenda of closed session meetings are being followed. Our current city clerk does not do that. And that's one of the things I like to do, is be able to sit on closed session meetings just to give assurance to the public that the closed session agenda is being followed. So I'm here to answer questions, and again, I'm here to get your vote. What questions do some of you might have? Yes, sir.
Since we have a terrible problem with corruption in the city of Oxnard, so once you're elected, what can you do about that in terms of overseeing the corporation, overseeing monies and things like that? Or you do, what does the city clerk have?
Again, the city clerk is really responsible for information. I cannot vote on anything. All I can do is submit, receive public record requests and respond to them the best of my ability. Now, my background's accounting, my background's finance. So I could probably help answer fiscal issues more responsibly and more proactively than perhaps being done. We have a $200 million cash in our accounts between the enterprise funds and the general. And only recently are we getting some reports on a regular basis on disbursement. So I'd help you get information out that you're looking for. I cannot identify where corruption is taking place, but I could help you perhaps identify how you might determine if corruption is taking place or not. For example, if there's a request for expenditure of funds, I can help you phrase your question so you can ask for the documentation that may support the information that you're seeking. Does that answer your question?
Yes, and then,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yes, Mr. Dozer.
The neighborhoods are often notified about specific amendment plan changes on these big white boards that they post in the communities. I'd like to know, does the city clerk office manage the release of that information and the accuracy of that information? Because my experience in the past has been that the information is very misleading and often inaccurate.
That information comes out of Development Services, not the city clerk's office. But what I would suggest you do is get involved and stay active with your neighborhood. We have over 55 neighborhoods. And we have, in some cases, active neighborhoods, and other neighborhoods aren't active. If you're an inactive neighborhood, I suggest you work with neighborhood services, get your neighborhood activated, get on the packet lease, and that way if you have information, questions, you can go through your neighborhood chairman, and your neighborhood chairman could then ask the city clerk for information, or help direct you in the direction to help get the information that you're looking for. Does that answer your question, sir?
Yes.
Yeah.
2 minutes, Larry.
Okay. Are there any other questions? I want to thank you for your past support. I want to thank you for being an active community in this area. The Good Club's done a lot in promoting information and has done a lot to help support local politicians. I appreciate your services and thank you very much.
Take questions or keep talking.
Okay, so my name is Jose Torres and I'm a candidate for city clerk here in Oxnard. The thing about the city clerk is he has two basic jobs, two very important jobs. One is he's a keeper of records. He's a custodian of records. All the city records go through that office. His second main job is to provide the people with that information, with those requests, with those records. But I want to bring new venues where people can access that information. Online, for example, you know, technology's moving up. We need to keep up with it. And if people could, from the comfort of their own home, research this, look up any contract, any public information from the comfort of their own home, then let them do that. Currently, the city clerk, the office does have that program, but it only has it for the staff, for the office inside there. If you go online and look up the city clerk's website, it's kind of confusing. It's a little murky, but and you don't have that program online. We could do that. We could do that, provide that for the people. The city clerk's office should not be generating, it's not a revenue generating office. Information should not cost a thing. This is what people are interested. This is how we become vigilant of what's going on in the city. We have to look at all the records, everything that's going on. It should not cost a thing. Coming in as a city clerk, I'm bringing in a new generational change. The current city clerk has been there for 20 years. I think it's time to move on. We need to progress. We need to move forward. And, you know, let new, fresh ideas come in and introduce it to the city. Why not? We need to move on. That's it. My name is Jose Torres. Thank you so much for your support and for listening. If you have any questions, I'd love to answer them for you. Yeah?
What got you interested in running for this position?
I was an intern. I have good experience on what's going on. I have a good grasp of what's going on. I've processed records requests. I helped Lynn Bennett. She's a worker at the city clerk's office. I helped her build up the agenda, deliver it. So I have pretty good experience and knowledge of what's going on in the city. I sat in a couple city council meetings, so I know exactly what to do. Yeah.
So since you're so familiar with it, what did you encounter that if you were given the chance, you would change for the better?
Well, one of the main things I mentioned was we need to provide easier access of information to the people. And that online program, Los Angeles County has it. The city clerk in Los Angeles you could go on their website and look up any contract online. That's the main thing, to provide easier access for the people and not make the people pay $20 for a piece of information that might be vital to them. Yeah.
What experience do you have other than your internship, education, other words?
Oh, education, sure. So I graduated from UCSB with a major in philosophy and a minor in mathematics. As a university graduate, you have to be a critical thinker, so I have that under my belt. At the moment, I'm a substitute teacher. I go around different high schools, working with different high schools, teaching. So that's another thing I want to bring in as a city clerk. The new generational change, I want to provide students with career exploratory opportunities. I want to be in there, and I want to show the students what we do, what it is that the city clerk does, how the city government works. And I think I could provide that for the incoming college students and high school students. Yeah.
Yeah, if there's a forthcoming investigation of the city by the district attorney, will you cooperate in terms of providing documents?
100%.
Or will you stonewall?
No, and that's, well, the city clerk, I have no idea how he did his job. He did his job to the best of his abilities, I would assume. I don't know what he did, but of course, you have to cooperate. And I mean, by putting programs online and making things more accessible, I think that people would see that I would want to put things out in the open, not hide anything. I don't have anything to hide. So, of course, that would be 100%.
So you would be involved. You would be certain to support transparency.
Of course, that's one of my platforms. New generation, new leadership, and transparency.
Right, absolutely.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yeah, right now you just said that. I noticed also that there was some documentation that was missing or destroyed during the period of the investigation.
Yeah.
Is there some way they can get that information back, or it's gone forever?
You would have to ask the current city clerk that, but I would assume once they're destroyed forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Last question. One more question. There's a quick question.
Okay.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you so much.
Good evening. I'm Daniel Martinez, this Oxnard City Clerk. I want to thank you for having me and our other guests here tonight. I have been the city clerk for 5 terms. Happy to say that, and I think we've come a long way. Our office does, I think, a very good job of providing information to the city, to our residents. Basically, when you say city clerk, people ask, what's a city clerk? Basically, I'm the secretary for the city council, for the city. All the records are not held by my office, but we do keep track of records, and we do keep a retention schedule. When I first started the city, we didn't really have a retention schedule. We were working on that. We were working on paper mainly. Now we are working on computers. I don't know if you've gone online. You can actually go online and see meetings for the last 5 years. The actual meeting, the minutes, the agendas, you can see all that. On my part-time intern, forgot to mention, all our information is free. You can come to our office and ask for information. It is free. Now, if you want a copy of that, you need to pay for the paper and the copy, and that's 10 cents a page. So all our records, all our information is free. We do send it to the library, so our agendas are available at the libraries. We do try to get it online. Not only do we do our vital records, which are our minutes, resolutions, ordinances, agreements. We also work with the elections. I'm the elections officer for the city, so I help, and I've met all the candidates who are running for office. So we help them with that and all the forums, our state forums. We help them with all the documents we have to deal with. Now it's very interesting, the DA investigation, because a lot of people think the DA's office came to our office and asked for records, which in fact that's what they should have done to find out what was happening in the city, what records they wanted. In fact, what happened is they went to the city manager's office, and they're working with the city manager's office, And I guess city manager was trying to give them the information, and then next thing I know, they came to my office with a subpoena, and of course, the subpoena they get whatever records they want. We have a room where we keep most of our records, and they took probably about almost 2/3 of our records that were there. Our vital records are agreements, ordinances, resolutions. But that didn't really hurt our city, my office at all, because everything we have, vital records, are scanned. We have everything scanned, we have copies of those records. So it didn't really affect our office, it was business as usual. And that shows you what type of office I have. Also, usually I have people that are trained. I'm a certified municipal city clerk. We go to school for that to get our certification. I've had other city clerks that have gone to Thousand Oaks to be a city clerk. That's a former person in my office who was trained in our office. We had a few retired. But I do encourage training of my office to help the public to go on to further offices. We do have interns that come in from outside, and we try to help other people learn about our office in the city. I'll take any questions. Any questions? Go ahead.
Who keeps the archives of the council meeting videos?
Of the videos.
Yes, I mean, everything is broadcast, so where are those things kept? Is your office
Well, we
responsible
have
for video stuff as well as paper records?
Right, we keep the paper records. The video part, though, we do have a software company that keeps those. They keep them. We have like the last 6 years of those records.
So those are kept off-site?
Those are kept off-site.
And the things that you scanned and the archives, you talked about a retention schedule, are those things kept off-site, and what kinds of disaster preparations are made to protect any records that are kept on-site, or to protect all the records in case of a disaster?
Our information system departments, they copy the records. Actually, they copy them every day. So everything's copied, and they keep it on an off-site site. Actually, it's out of the state even.
Out of the state.
So those records are kept in case something happens, an earthquake or a disaster, we still have access to those records.
So are those records all paper? Aren't you going to go paperless, that those things would be?
You know, a lot of people think that everything should be paperless, but if you're only going to keep something for a little while, and usually if it's less than 5 years, usually don't always scan everything, because you don't keep everything, as you know, your own records. You're not going to keep everything, but just the vital records, and usually the vital records we keep forever.
So for instance, like the election stuff that we have to turn in for a candidate or whatever and all that, you don't keep that. You keep that, or you send it off?
The election
For petitions that we sign.
petitions,
No, not petitions like now for a candidate, like all these people.
For
here
political
have
practice
their-
filings.
Their financial stuff, and you take it to your city office, and then you.
if a person's elected, we keep those forever. If not, we keep them for 7 years after the election.
So you have a lot of people.
Yes,
You
we
do.
did.
So maybe he's right about, technology, that you should maybe move it to something that's all paperless, and having everything on a hard drive, so it won't take up so much space.
One thing you do have to remember is a budget, and a lot of things cost money and labor. So you have to balance out what the costs are of keeping things like that or doing electronically. So there's always the budget that we have to look at. And our office has been reduced by 25%.
You mean Lynn won't do it all?
Yeah, I can't have everybody, they won't do it all. So I'm sorry, you had a question.
I noticed that a lot of the advisory groups, the minutes are not available online, or are sometimes available online, and many times you have to actually attend the meeting to get a copy of the minutes. And so I was wondering if the city clerk could be more proactive in following up on getting the minutes of all of the public meetings available.
Right, and that's something we've been looking into. The liaisons that work with those committees, they're the ones in charge of the minutes of that committee. So they're the ones who have to get them to us, so we can get them online with the IS department. And we are working on that, and that has been a problem. But every department usually has a different committee, and those are the ones who have to get them out there. So we are aware of that.
Last question. It comes out a lot cheaper to put from the paperwork onto the files. That's why the Affordable Care Act That's what they're doing for all the patients. Another question would be, during the investigation, was there any documentation or any of that paperwork that the DA asked? Did it go missing or was it destroyed?
Well, we don't really know, I don't know everything they were looking for, but whatever they had a subpoena, so they basically took everything that they wanted to take.
Your office, right?
From my office and stuff. I don't know if there was other departments they were looking for that they couldn't find records, but they took whatever they wanted when they came to my office.
Time's up, but Francine's arm was pretty tired back there, so.
I just have this is more of a curiosity question. I found out, I was doing a research project, and the county only keeps records up until 1971. There's no records after that. Just out of curiosity, how far back do records go in your office? Do they go from when the city began? Do you guys after a certain point check it?
It depends on the records, but most of our bio records, our minutes, our resolutions and ordinances go back to the beginning, 1903.
Time's up, sorry. We've got 6 pieces of paper in here, and if you just take one out and whatever the number is
Number 1.
Go ahead and introduce yourself. I'll let you have 5 minutes. I'll let you know when 5 minutes is up. You need to stop and ask questions. Everybody continue talking for 3 more. When you get to about 30 seconds, I'll just start walking close to you.
Excellent. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Attention,
Thank you very
everybody.
much. Thank you very much for inviting me tonight. And my name is Deshae Ford. I'm running for city council. If I'm speaking too fast, like a lot of people from Arkansas, I speak rapid. But in either case, I'm running for city council. And I was watching 60 Minutes the other night, and they had Mitch Rumley. My wife keeps telling me, don't pronounce his name correctly, Mitch Rumley. And he said when he heard that, came on the radio, he was driving his car, he heard that the bigwig in the Mormon church had lifted the restriction that they could admit African Americans. He said, I just cried. Well, if he's elected, I'm going to cry. But, yes, so my education, I've been in California for about 30 years. Came from Arkansas. My brother brought me out here. But I love the area, beautiful sun and everything, love it like Arkansas. But I was educated at the University of Arkansas. I have advanced degrees from the University of Arkansas. Bill Clinton was my professor at the university. And I worked in his campaign, ran for governor, and became governor 27 years ago. But so I'm very involved in politics. My area of specialization at the University of Arkansas was politics. So I ran for various offices. But also, I'm really committed to the city of Oxnard. I did a lot of volunteerism. Right now, I'm on the committee for senior citizens. So one of my platform is #1 is for program for senior citizens. Because senior citizens are really suffering, especially those on fixed incomes. #2, corruption. I'm a corruption fighter. Maybe something like Superman. Fighting corruption. So that's #1. That's #2. And #3, I would like to see a commission like Los Angeles after the Rodney King situation. They had a citizen complaint commission that people who have been treated inappropriately by the police, they can complain to this commission, and the commission can take those particular complaints and refer them to the United States Attorney in Los Angeles. And also, I was on the Ventura County Grand Jury, 1996, 97, and I would bring the grand jury. What the grand jury is mandated and commissioned to investigate cities. So I would bring the grand jury in and let them look at the accounting department of the city of Oxnard. Okay. What I feel like, ladies and gentlemen, is in terms of corruption in the city of Oxnard. What I recommend is #1 is voting everybody out. The only way you want to deal with the corruption, the cancer that exists in the city of Oxnard, vote everybody out and bring in a new group of people. Specifically, I liked what that young man was saying. I was certainly going to get my vote. But again, that's what I feel right now. And so one of the first things I would do, if elected, #1, ladies and gentlemen, is look for a brand new city manager. Miss Brim, give her the door. And also, I was at a meeting the other night, and Mr. Brian McDonald was there and speaking. He said that every time he would travel for the city, he used his own credit card. But, ladies and gentlemen, I have this right here. You have access to it too. From the local paper. He did an investigation for taking gifts. So, but he said that was totally not the truth. He's like Mitch, like Mitch, this guy Mitch Rumley. Every different group of people he went, he got a different story. So he had a different story. So if elected, folks, I promise you, number one, I'd aggressively get after corruption. And like Mr. McDonald said, what he's going to do if he's elected, he's going to fix the signs and fix the potholes. But number one, my concern, folks, is money. Police and watch the money. And that way, if we got the money, we police in the money, we can fix the potholes. Now, can we fix the potholes? Right? Yeah. So, so that's the very first thing I plan to do. Number one, get rid of the city manager, get a brand new one in, and also look at the top managers. Look at all the money those guys are getting. And so, like Mr. Sotillo, he was getting almost $400,000 and took out a $10,000 loan from the city. Why would you get a almost $1 million and take out a $10,000 loan? It's just simply so much corruption going on, people. There's so much money going on. You see. So again, is put a restriction on the incomes of upper level managers. And looking, because I was talking, and next door to me is one of the mid-level managers in the city of Oxnard, and they have not had a contract raised in about, he said, about 7 to 8 years. But Ms. Burnham got a big raise, didn't she? Huh? And so, I hope I'm not near finished. Also, I had something else I saw.
Close to 5 minutes.
Oh, okay, something I saw in 60 Minutes. And they had to say by, I believe I'm trying to think of this company, but Wall Street company, I think it was Goldman Sachs, but it was very similar to Goldman Sachs, and because later they filed for bankruptcy. And they filed for this guy, the head of this company, receiving $20 to $30 million. And when the company went under, filed for bankruptcy, he still got that big bonus. He got the big bonus. Now we gave Miss Burnham a bonus, didn't we? She was so we overseeing the money, checking the money, see where exactly the money is going, and the city council, Mr. McDonald and others, gave her a large bonus for being incompetent. So, yes ma'am, got a question?
Yes, I do. I'm very concerned about overcrowding in Oxnard because investors are buying these foreclosed properties and then allowing multiple families to live there, not even knowing who is living in the house with them.
Right.
Would you do anything to solve the overcrowding problems in Oxnard?
Yes, I would. I would. And of course, I would do much more code enforcement in terms of doing exploring and seeing. But I also would do more exploration into it and seeing exactly what is occurring with those families in terms of why so many people are living together too. Because we are living in really tough economic times. So I would not be able to send the police out and or send the gold people out and just kick them all out. I would want to look at each situation individually before I make a decision. That's what I would do. Each situation is different. Hope I. Any more questions, ladies and gentlemen?
That's against the wall back there.
Yes, sir.
Last night there was discussion regarding East Village Park and the ramifications between East Village and River Park. What was your take on that discussion?
River Park, good, God, great. You know, I was honored to be in California, and I'll be in 1994 and also in 1991 when we had El Nino, and River Park was underwater. So once it was underwater, you had a problem with grass, I guess. But needless to say, what I would do in terms of that is in terms of, you may, please forgive me, you may rephrase that question again. So right along, I missed it. Lost it. Go ahead, rephrase.
There was a discussion last night between East Village Park and the ramifications with River Park.
Okay.
What was your take on that discussion last night?
Well, I must plead ignorance. I didn't quite hear that discussion last night, so I didn't not privy to making a decision about it. Even in the input, but didn't hear it. Yeah. So.
Time for one more question.
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bill. Please. I'll tell you when 5 minutes is up. That gives you 3 more. You can make your choice what you want to do, and then when I get closer, you got about 30 seconds left.
Sounds good. Thanks. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for taking time to just listen to all the candidates. My name is Manuel Vasquez, and I'm running for Oxnard City Council. I just want to tell you a little bit about me and some things that I believe for Oxnard. So I've been nearly a lifelong resident of Oxnard. I migrated here with my family when I was 5 years old. You know, I went to the public school system here, graduated from Channel Islands High School, and attended UCSB. And I also attended University in Santiago de Chile, where I spent 6 months studying abroad and interning with a think tank organization that focused on policy. So, I mean, I went through a very representative lifestyle of Oxnard. Went to university, came back, and I saw a lot of potential in the city that I had not seen before. I think the city has the conditions to do great things, and we need to change a few things. Number one, beginning with, of course, the way our government is run. I believe, any city council candidate that goes right now should be the first thing to address. We need to address our transparency issue and make sure we communicate to the people how we're actually going to change that. It's one thing to say and another thing to actually do something. After that, I think Oxnard really needs to invest in working together with school districts to improve the economic situation in Oxnard through education. If you look at Oxnard, like half of the population didn't graduate from high school, and a really small minority went to university. So if we want to be the city that wants to attract high-paying jobs and these high-tech companies, then we need an educated workforce. And so we need to see ways that the city can work with different school districts, what venues of opportunities they can provide for the people in order to have a population that can support that type of economy. I also think the city should, like I said, provide more venues of opportunities for the youth. Oxnard has a really young population, and if we want to look towards the future, the city's going to be here for a long time. We have to invest in our youth in that sense. I also think the city, 200,000 people, has really outlived its model of growth. We need to invest in our infrastructure, have better streets, and have streets that are easier for the people to walk in, to get around, focus more on our transportation system so we can have like a city that's more mobile for the future. And the last thing, Oxnard really needs a government that's representative of its population. And I think I can provide that just based on my own personal experience, very representative of the city of Oxnard. I can also see the viewpoints through a different viewpoint because I know the business aspect of it. Currently I'm the program director for the Huntington Learning Center. We work with different school districts and provide after-school academic services for the students there. So I think I have the personal experience to reflect the population of Oxnard. I have the experience working as a program director. I work with staff, with my finances in our company, and just in regular day-to-day business. So hopefully I can get your support this November 6th and really want to see a change in Oxnard to think more long-term and have a better future. So at this moment I can take any questions from the audience. Sorry?
Should the MRF and the golf course be operated by independent companies or by city employees, and why?
Should the golf course?
The golf course and the MRF.
What's the MRF? I'm sorry.
The MRF is the trash recycling center, Del Norte and
Sturgeon. Well, the golf course should be operated by a private company without any subsidies from the government. Plain and simple. If we want a golf course there, then the population should be there to actually support it. So if the current population doesn't support a golf course and doesn't make it profitable, then we have no business in saying that it should be there, just to increase the property values or to want people to move to the Victorian estates.
And the MRF?
The MRF, that one I think would have to study it more. If it provides similar services to it does now, and maybe if it can be done better by a private company, then maybe we should consider that. But it has to depend on the services that they provide and the cost of it for the people. Yeah.
Go ahead, then I'll go next. Go ahead, okay.
I just wanted to ask a question. You said something about connecting schools and city government a bit more, and I know that in other regions of the United States, city government and school districts are much more tied together, and we often have like developers paying for schools. I'm very much in support of Measure R for our school district, but it's also the third bond measure that we'll be paying at the same time for the school district. Without those stronger connections, how would you be able to support schools? Because I also think that's, as far as city government, that's probably going to be the best. An educated population is often the biggest indicator for a strong community. So how would you recommend doing it?
So at the city and the school districts, just first the city needs to realize that an investment in the education is an investment in its own self. So from that idea, The city and school districts can work closer together. For example, high school students can be trained by the city government to do certain jobs. The city can connect businesses with schools. So for example, a business can come and do a training class for jobs that exist within the county. And the city can pay for that, for example. And that way, when the students take that course, graduate, they're ready to have the skills for jobs that are actually present in our own community. So those are some examples, just linking different organizations, different businesses, and being kind of the in-between person to connecting those two. Okay. And as for even more resources, I would go with that too.
Oxnard is a coastal city that has many miles of beautiful beaches, but it seems to me that it forgets that all the time. And during the rebranding process that went on about a year ago, I understand from our current mayor that they didn't even tell the consultant that they were on the coast for 3 days. So the consultant didn't know that we had ocean and beaches. And many people in Oxnard really don't have an opportunity to get to the ocean and the beaches, which is a major recreational opportunity because there's no transportation, there's no lifeguard service provided, and it seems like an afterthought, yet most cities would kill to have the kinds of beautiful oceanfront and beaches that we have. What would you recommend that Oxnard be able to do to tie its coastal area closer to its city so that we are one city and people can take advantage of the coast?
Right, I agree with you. The first time I left Oxnard was when I went to Santa Barbara, and people commented like Oxnard is this weirdest city because you're going down the freeway, you see these 2 towers. Is it like a urban city? And then you see these farms, and then you see the beach. So I mean, I think that's really unique because Oxnard has all these resources and can use these for its own benefit. Now, I agree with you, the beaches aren't utilized evenly by everybody, but I think the city can do a lot more with that. I can just provide different venues of transportation to get to the beach. For example, if somebody wants to ride their bicycle there, well, why don't we have like a safer way to get there using bicycle lanes? As far as transportation, same way. Why don't we have a little bit better transportation for everybody to be able to get there who doesn't own a vehicle? And I think the city itself could use the beach as a way for economic development. We can provide more venues there where private companies can come in and take up those spots, maybe have a snack bar of some sort, and that way there's investment in the area, and as a provision we could have something that they provide for the people to get there easier. So just working more with private companies and developing that area so it's more active, but at the same time just keeping that same.
Sorry, last question. That was it. Time's up.
Oh, he's been asking for a question though. So.
He's another candidate who just wants to get information.
Thank you.
Before the next person comes up, I want to take an opportunity to give a little pitch for the Good Club. There's lots of you here tonight that are asking questions that might not be members of the Good Club, might not even be Democrats. So you might want to consider registering as a Democrat and joining the Good Club. But in the meantime, you're welcome to come and ask questions. Go ahead.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Vince Behrens. I'm running for City Council. I see a lot of familiar faces. Yes, I do. I'm running because I got tired of watching all the negative stuff that was happening in my city. Where do I begin? This is kind of interesting. I have 5 minutes to talk, and every time we talk, we always have a flag blowing up on me. So I'm going to try and be brief so I can answer some questions later on, especially the one about the ocean. I sat on that group that worked with Roger Brooks. As a kid growing up, I grew up downtown. You're all safe here. I just want you to know downtown, you're not going to have any problems. As a chair, one of the groups that was in here in the downtown, I was here for 5 years as a chair. We worked on the policing. We worked on cleaning the place up. We worked on trying to get the downtown to be a place where you can bring your family and feel comfortable. There's a lot of love for the downtown. There's an incredible amount of history in the downtown. And it was just sitting on the sidelines. And as a kid growing up, we would watch Johnny Carson. And all you here are old enough to remember Johnny Carson, because I've gone to a couple groups and I had no idea who Johnny Carson was. Johnny Carson used to, in his monologue, make fun of us. And I just could not imagine how a city could be made fun of regularly, that the writers of Johnny Carson could just keep coming through Oxnard and just find us a way to just, chew us up. So there was 10 of us in the downtown, all similar age, all families that own property or businesses, and we got together and said, this is absolutely insane. How is it that somehow or another, we're the only ones of our age group watching Johnny Carson? On the 4th floor, are they not having this conversation about the city of Oxnard? Because this is Johnny Carson. You don't get any bigger than Johnny, right? So we kept saying, how is it that we're going to change the perception of the city of Oxnard? Because this is our town. This has got the best climate, it's got the flattest roads, it's in between Santa Monica and Santa Barbara, right? We breathe their same air, we walk on their same sand. So what the hell happened in between that time where somehow we are the butt of a lot of these jokes? We're the largest city in the county. There's absolutely no reason that we should find ourselves, in Johnny Carson's monologue. So we started that together, and Takasugi, now Takasugi, I grew up around the corner from him, and I said, now there's 10 of us. We don't expect to be paid. We are the next generation of property owners in the city, in the downtown. What is it that we can do to try and change the perception of the city of Oxnard? And it went right over his head. And I'd go back to this group and I would just be so completely depressed because it was like there is absolutely nothing in the city that we can have a conversation with to get moving on certain things. And we had a lot of great ideas. We were that next generation of youngsters that wanted to see something happen. Manny Lopez came along, we had a conversation with him, it went over his head. And I was so frustrated. But by that time we'd already started the downtowners. From the downtowners grew the Oxnard Downtown Management District. That was an assessment district in which we raised over $550,000 every year. That paid for the services in the city that they did not provide. And it made a huge difference. We had retail moving in. We had a perception that the city was now safe, at least the downtown, because I've grown up in the downtown, never had any of the problems that everyone thought that we had. The challenge is now is that you have a boulevard. It's the third leg. It needs to be redone. I've lived in 5 different spaces in this city, so I'm familiar with all of them. I have tons of friends in all these different neighborhoods, and we commiserate on all the things that should have happened, that could have happened, and chose not to happen. There is a huge need for a city manager with a little bit of vision. There's a city manager out there I know that is crying out at $175,000, not $400,000, in which this person can come in and make a huge difference in the city of Oxnard. There's absolutely no reason why you cannot find good qualified people. There's a ton of people looking for jobs, absolutely no reason why you cannot find a good group of people to surround that person with and make a difference in the city of Oxnard. One of the challenges that we had in the downtown was how do you bring people into the city now that you have this and you are away from the freeway and you are that close to the ocean? How is it that somehow or another you cannot get people to come into their downtown from the beach? Somehow or another that's a whole completely different city, and it's always amazed me that I could go surfing in the morning and then come into downtown at night or in the afternoon, and somehow that road separated us. And I could not get friends from the beach to come into the downtown. So my goal was to get friends to come into the downtown. And that was to come into the theater, to come into the cultural center of the city. Because there is no other part in the entire city that claims its culture. So the downtown has to be, for its survival, it has to be the cultural center of the city. It needs to have its museums, it needs to have its galleries, it needs to have a sense of place because this is the history, this is the roots of the city. For it not to look great would be a huge shame because a non-healthy downtown is a non-healthy city. It needs to start growing up like other cities have done. It's time for it now to have 5 to 7-story buildings with retail and office and condos, people walking around the city. People that walk around cities enjoy their cities. And if you look at the histories of cities, you will see how they have grown and they have prospered. That's where your banks are, that's where things happen in your city. And that is where we need to start working on. We have gone through recessions and depressions. I'm at 5 minutes?
You're at 5, you got 3 left.
Oh, jeez. See, I go rambling on. Anyway, I sat on a lot of different committees when I was the chair of the downtown. And in a way, you almost are your own little mini mayor because people come to you thinking that you can straighten out huge problems, and you can and you cannot depending on what you have to deal with. And we dealt with absolutely everything that a mayor has to deal with, from the homeless to the panhandling, okay, to bringing in retail, to try and working with the city to try and get, licenses taken care of. I had EDCO, I had my city manager play politics with me. I'm the 13th of the 13 candidates, only because I was so pissed off that my mayor and my city manager and my redevelopment director all got busted with monies. And I just got so amazed that the 3 people that I tried to work so hard with in the downtown were the 3 people that got busted. I don't know if they're corrupt or not. All I know is I'm an 8-year-old kid with a long memory and I'm tired of waiting. So it got to the point where I said, look, if it's going to happen, I've got to do something different. My old man was very involved in the downtown, and his vision of heaven might be that if I do not try and straighten out the downtown or the city, that he's going to kick my butt every single day for eternity. So I thought to myself, I've got to get into the city council, start changing things. I got in there by the skin of my teeth. I was able to raise the money. It took me about 4 or 5 calls to make it, but I pulled the money together. We've got it going. I know there's 13, and it's been a real interesting a couple of months because I feel like I'm back in college with the same 12 other people. What I tell these other 12 people, and I tell them tonight, there's only 4 of them down here, but you know what? There's citizen action committees that need to be brought into. You need to have people go into those because you have a desire to do it. Go into those committees, because I know there's only going to be 2 of us that are going to get on the city council with the potential of a 3rd. So, open up questions. I'm totally up for it if you guys have any.
Time for one question, really.
I'm really sorry.
You might want to pick somebody that's not your opponent, but if he's the only one with a hand up, go ahead.
Opponent.
Oh, okay, I was just wondering too, I was sitting here wondering. I called Greg Tottenham's office and spoke to the investigator who investigated the city of Oxnard, and he said Oxnard is the most corrupt city of all the cities in Ventura County. So my question to you is that once elected, what would you do since we think about the situation in Vail, California, where all the city council members were on the state taking money? So what would you do as a newly elected city councilman in terms of looking at management and see exactly where the money is going and see that taxpayers' money is protected?
All right, let me tell you something. What Bell did correctly, one of the things that they did really, really amazing was they came in with a management team. And that management team came in and they cleaned house. Whoever becomes the next city manager, there's going to be a bloody 4th floor. It will be bloody. At one point in time, you will have a cleanup. I have already had 5 employees of the city of Oxnard come to me who I don't even know who these people are, and said, you need to, when you get voted in, we need to go outside of the city limits where we will not be seen together. And we will have lunch, and I will tell you about the corruption in my department. Okay? Does that help you out at all? I mean, let me tell you something. The last thing I want, having worked this long on the city of Oxnard, is to know that I am in the same sentence as Bell. There's nothing worse to live in. I mean, when I travel through Europe, people would say, where are you from? I'd say, from Oxnard. They'd say, well, where the hell's that at? I said, it's between Santa Barbara and Malibu. What an odd, I mean, I had 135 foreign exchange students here, and they loved it. So I love my city. I plan on growing old. I might grow broke in this city, but I'm telling you right now, after the last 6 years, it can't get any weirder. Thank you.
Rudy, let me just recap just so everybody knows. At 5 minutes, I'll let you know when 5 minutes is up. You can keep talking or you can stop and take questions. When you got 30 seconds left, I'll start getting real close to you.
Sounds good.
Same for the rest of you. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Rudy Salvio. I'd like to thank the Good Club for having me here and having the other opponents here, the other candidates. I live in La Colonia. I work at the postal. I work for the Postal Service. I've been there 15 years. I want to continue working there till maybe I retire. The reason I'm running for city council is for the fact that this city has failed us, has failed in leadership, has failed in providing some kind of helping the city move forward. With the annex plant from the post office closing, we had the leadership they're missing. We've also had teachers getting pink slips. We had the city out there going to the school board and asking for those teachers to be back in the classrooms. So time after time again, the city has failed us. 15% water increase. I know a lot of us are feeling it. I talked to a lot of our seniors that are feeling it. Families that have a lot of kids, they got to get them ready to go to school. The water increase is affecting every single one of us. I had a story one time. I talked to this lady. She had to pay for her medication or pay the water bill. These are tough decisions that we're making just because the city's failing us on the leadership. Paying for a golf course that we've never agreed to pay for. EDCO, we're giving them money that they mismanage. It's time to put a stop to all that. As a city council member, I I would take charge. I would get other people in the room. I would get these organizations, different organizations. We got great organizations here. We got CAUSE, we got LULAC, we got the Good Club. We need to bring these parties in, and we hear them time after time. They've gone to the city council meetings, and I've been there myself. I fought for Spanish simulcast, which is something crucial to the people in my community. We got to get them involved. We got to get them involved for the fact that when we leave a certain percentage of our citizens out and not looking in, it affects every one of us. Now, downtown's a great area, and it's been great forever. I mean, we have history there where Ted Kennedy came in '59 and campaigned for JFK. In my neighborhood, we had Bobby Kennedy. My father met Bobby Kennedy at the Cristo Rey Church. As a kid, I marched with Cesar Chavez, and I still continue that fight. I was up in La Paz yesterday, or on Monday. I was up there for the nationalization of the rest place of Cesar Chavez, and I think it's very crucial, and it's important that we continue this fight. Another thing too, we have a candidate trying to sneak his way inside our office, Mr. Tony Strickland. We got to do something to help Julian Brownlee out in that part. Time after time again, I hear situations where Mr. Brian McDonald's gone out to the neighborhood, he's gone out to the community, and he's bringing Tony Strickland in to talk to the people in my community, coming out on Vida paper, the newspaper, the radio, and we got to do something about that because we know once he's in office, he's gonna completely shut us out. And I think we could bring this change here. We have to start off by selecting somebody in that chair, in that councilman chair. Time after time, like I said, I've gone to the city council meetings, and I know how some of the people that vote time and time again against our interest. We gotta think outside of the box. One thing I had thought about is they asked the question, would you bring another transportation system in? And I said I wouldn't. We got a transportation system that's great, but it just needs some straightening up to do. We can give the students of the college, the local college, rides for free. Seniors could ride the bus for free to get to where they need to go to. I think this will help out the community tremendously. We need 21st century jobs because we're in the 20th century bringing these big box stores like a Walmart that's going to affect some of the small businesses in the south side. It happened here at the Walmart that we got at Rose, where we had these little beautiful shops, these little stores here selling TVs and all that, and everybody felt the effect once Walmart came in. So we got to do something about bringing 21st century jobs, and I talk about 21st century jobs because I work at the city. I work for the post office, but I deliver mail at the University of Channel Islands, and one of the things that they did there, they did the mock energy program at the university. And it doesn't have to be a mock system because we could bring that into some of these businesses here. We need to attract some of these businesses, solar, wind power, something that's going to generate business here in the city of Oxnard with our local employees here working there. The money's going to circulate. There's tremendous amount of work that our streets need. There's a measure called Measure O that
5 minutes, Rudy.
A Measure O that we can put in place we can put it in work. It can kickstart that program, and it'll help the local employees here. And like I said, the money will circulate, and that's something we got to do. We got to do this, and we can't wait on this. It's got to be now. I think it's time for change. I hear people, these guys have been running the city of Oxnard for so many years. It's time to bring a new vision and a new idea to the city, and it will start by changing that old thinking and bringing some new thinking in there. And I like to be, and if I get that position, if I get that chance, I pledge my dying work to this city and to my residents here in the city. And thank you very much. And have any questions out here? Anybody want to say?
If you're elected, what would be the first thing you do?
I know you've been mentioning it. We would have to clean house. We would have to start getting out some of these older employees, and like when I say older, I mean like some of the people that have been in there with the corruption that's been going on. That's gotta be a mandate. We gotta definitely get rid of the people that have been there and that had a chance to be part of that corruption. Where we have two council people that turn a blind ear. I'm talking about Pinker and McDonald. They turn a blind eye to corruption. If I was up there, I ask them to retire. I ask them, you know what, resign. And nobody had the courage to do that, and I would do that. I stand up for what I think what's right, and I would bring honesty to it. Any more questions?
I go to Rudy. Rudy, you are, having listened to you now for the last 2 months, you are a kid of the Colonia.
I'm sorry, I'm not a kid. I'm a 37-year-old man, but go ahead.
At 54, I can call you a kid.
Well, I think that's a compliment.
There has never really been a city council person from the Colonia. For the first time, if you get on the city council, is there anything special that you'd like to do with the Colonia?
The Colonia has a lot of, the Colonia has a lot of potential, but the fact of the matter is that I'm not going to be the city council of La Colonia. I'm going to be the city council of the city of Oxnard. But the Colonia has a starting point, and I would definitely see that some of the problems that are plaguing La Colonia plague the south side, plague Lemonwood. Like I talked to Carmen Ramirez, I said, Carmen, we need some of these potholes fixed. We need some of this infrastructure fixed. What can we do? She said, well, there's no money in the budget, and there is money in the budget. The Measure O, we can use it. But they say that it's not intended to, it's written kind of like, where it doesn't say what it's supposed to be written for. But we need to get those people on the table, and we need to do something about our infrastructure. Woolly Road, some of the alleys that have potholes. We need to take action. We need to take it now. So thank you very much. My name is Rudy Cardio, and I hope I can see you next week. Thank you. Thank you.
I think we're number 5 now. I want to thank everybody for their patience. If you've noticed in the past, we've never done city treasurer and city clerk, but we wanted to kind of open it up a little bit and give everybody an opportunity. So thanks for your patience.
Good evening. I'd like to thank the Good Club once again for sponsoring this and giving all us candidates an opportunity to come out and meet the residents so that you can learn a little bit about us and make a more informed choice. So I'm just going to go through a few things about myself. First off, I'd like to say that I'm not here by chance.
Could you introduce yourself, please?
Oh, yes. My name is Orlando Dozier. I'm sorry. My name is Orlando Dozier. I live in River Park. My wife, we've been married for 21 years. My son attends Rio Mesa High School. He's got a 4.0 average out there, so I don't care what anybody says about public schools. There are good teachers there. There are good students there. They just need the support to make it work. Like I was saying, I'm not here by chance. I'm here because of a single mother, chose to work 2 jobs and to support 3 kids on her own. And she instilled in us a responsibility to community and to self, and told us that we were all connected. So the reason why I'm running for Oxnard City Council is I want to reconnect the council to the community. I'm running for Oxnard City Council to represent the young couples that live in our city, that have invested their life savings into homes that some of us may call starter homes, but to them, those are it's their dream home. So I'm running to protect those young couples from high taxes, from Melrose, from all these HOAs that we have to pay. I'm running to represent the small businesses that are throughout our city that have been handed down from generation to generation, from family member to family member, and they're tied up in red tape trying to stay afloat. So I'm running to represent those businesses and let them know that there's somebody on the council that will listen to them. I'm running to support the teachers that dig in their own pockets and buy the basic supplies for classes of 40 students or more that they teach. And I also realize that the schools don't belong to the city, that they belong to the district. But I'm here to say that I will advocate to the district on those teachers and schools' behalf to make the changes necessary to eliminate that process. I mean, it's really shameful what we require from the teachers and the amount of support we provide them. I'm running to represent the unemployed Oxnard residents that have the skills that can be used locally in all these local constructions that are going on. However, for whatever reason, they've been overlooked and they're unemployed. If I'm elected Oxnard City Council, I guarantee you that Oxnard jobs will go to Oxnard residents first. I'm running for Oxnard City Council to reconnect the council to the community. So I'm asking for your vote this November. And if you'd like to see more information about my platform, you can visit my website at newoxnard.com or orlandodozier.com. So I'd like to open the floor up for questions at this time.
Good.
Yes.
So if you're elected, again, the same question I asked earlier, what would you do the first day of elected in terms of knowing that the situation you currently you're experiencing here in the city of Oxnard? What would you do?
Like everyone's touched on, the first thing we have to do is reestablish trust and commitment, show commitment to the city, to the residents. Ways that I think we can reestablish that trust is to give a lot of the committees that are currently on board the background, the backing and the support they need to make their recommendations stick. The Planning Commission, the Measure O Oversight Committee. These are all good committees and they're staffed by people who are volunteers. So they're staffed by people who are vested in seeing those things happen, seeing those committees make a difference. They're not asking for any money, they're just trying to help. I think that the council should provide the backing and support to those committees so when they come forth with a recommendation, that recommendation should be listened to and not just totally ignored. Yes, Larry.
Last night there was a discussion pertaining to East Village Park and River Park. What's your interpretation of that discussion last night?
I didn't hear that part of this discussion. I left before that came up. So if you'd like to ask another question, I can answer that.
I was trying to ask the same question, just kind of.
Yes.
What experience before up to now has sort of prepared you, you feel, given you the confidence to tackle these huge challenges? I should have asked it of all the others too, but it only occurred to me now.
No problem. I appreciate the question. I appreciate the opportunity to expand on my experience base. My whole adult life I've spent in public service in some form or fashion. First years, 20 years I spent in the military. I was in the Air Force for 20 years. The bulk of that was spent in some form of financial management, cost management, and cost and schedule and so forth. While I was in the military, I spent quite a few years, decade or more, in Europe. And in Europe, because you're outside of the country, the military members tend to do a lot of things and are exposed to a lot of jobs that are normally done here in the stateside by civilians with higher degrees and so forth. So I had the opportunity to work on housing and put together a cost and management economic impact statement and provide all that information to Congress to have approved a 64 structured housing unit for the troops. I've also worked on a $35 million medical facility. I cost that out. And after I retired, I moved over to the corporate side, and I worked for 7 years for Lockheed Martin as a cost and schedule analyst. I worked on the Space Shuttle project. I worked on 3 other programs with them. My current position, I'm a Navy budget Navy budget analyst, and I work at Port Hueneme. And the past month, I worked the last 20 days, and if anybody knows about appropriated funds and dealing with taxpayers' money, it's me.
Thank you. Time's up. And so stand by.
Good
evening. First, I would like to thank Cafe on A for allowing this organization to meet in this room, and I'd like to thank you for offering the opportunity for all of you candidates. I'd like to thank the 13 candidates that put their name in the hat. This has been a very interesting event. It's the first time that I've run for anything like this, and it's been a very learning experience. I'm going to try and take a little bit of different, because I've had the same speech various times. I'm going to try and address some of the questions that have been asked by various people and take my spin or an answer. But I'll give you a little bit of my bio.
Introduce yourself.
I beg your pardon. My name is Bert Carollo. Came to the Oxnard area in 1959, born in 1950. My family invested in this area in 1952. Let's see, went to local schools, went to Ventura Junior College, went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I need to tell you this, I quit Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, much to the shame and amazement of my mother and father. And also to mother and father, if there's anything good that I did, it was because of them. Anything bad I did on my own. I want to say that. But I still hold that I will not embarrass my family. I want you to know that. The issue of me getting involved in this stuff started out when my wife and I purchased a home in an area in Oxnard. And as all things happen, most things that happen that are good, it leads a woman behind somebody making something happen. She got us involved in neighborhood council. We got involved in neighborhood council issues. The neighborhood council issues we were much more naive. My entire neighborhood was extremely naive on what was going on. There was odor issues, and it came to pass that there were evacuations of home. Mr. Gallagher, working for the Oxnard Fire Department, he's aware that in June of 2000, they evacuated 6 homes on Grapevine Drive. The residents wanted to know what was going on. It took a tremendous effort. It took an effort of an individual from the south end of town. I happen to live in the north end of town. The south end of town, often deemed the poorest part of the city of Oxnard. Mr. Ventura Fernandez went to the city, could not get an answer. He went to the Board of Supervisors. It just so happened that Mr. John Flynn was the chair of the Board of Supervisors and directed staff to let us find out what was going on. We found out the city of Oxnard was dumping industrial waste in a residential neighborhood, leading to people being evacuated from their homes. We were too young, dumb, and naive to realize it was a tremendously big story. It didn't make the press. And when it started to make the press, the city of Oxnard sat on the reporter, Raul Hernandez. Raul Hernandez nearly lost his job. We're trying to expose the story. A lot of things that transpired in getting involved, you found out that it wasn't just my neighborhood. There were other neighborhoods. You met people, and there have been some that have spoke tonight. You met people that had been identified as crackpots. And you met people that had been identified as crackpots by people that you trusted, and as time came to pass, you found out those crackpots were the ones telling you the truth, and the guys telling you they were nuts were the guys that were not being honest with the residents in Oxnard. That is not a unique, new thing. It just takes a while to wake up. Unfortunately, from 2000, when we bought our home in 98, from around 2000, it's taken a long time to wake up. I'm running because I'm tired of being on the podium side and asking questions. I'm tired of not getting an answer. I will get a simple response, but it's not an answer that doesn't address the question. I challenge anybody to bring to attention anything that I've asked for in personal gain. One issue that I'm heavily involved in is the levy issue. It's going to be challenged that is to help my property. There are 6,000 homes in Oxnard that were identified going to be in a flood zone. The city of Oxnard dropped the ball big time. Residents banded together, put up money, hired an attorney, Richard Tentler. Richard Tentler ended up getting enticing KCET television. We were able to get it. The entire Santa Clara River Valley was taken out of the flood zone. A small group of citizens fought the federal Homeland Security. They fought FEMA, and they prevailed. Yet, we have current city council members that will talk about, well, it's not our responsibility to fix that stuff. So I'd like to address some of the questions that have been asked tonight and see if I can answer them before I take any questions. There were questions with respect to, wait a second, Harold. There were questions with respect to, how would you have done various different things? And one of the individuals talked about, well, saving jobs. The South Shore project potentially has the potential to cause the military bases to leave this area. When that project is built out and those people complain about the noise of the jets, the BRAC, which is identified as looking at closing military bases, if you get enough complaints, those jobs are going. What's the significance of that? The significance is the city of Oxnard tells us it's 18,000 civil service jobs. You lose 18,000 jobs in this area, somebody's going to hurt. The water issues. Myself and others have asked, why are the costs of domestic water subsidizing multiple family, industrial, and commercial water rates? Why? There's been a public request since March of this year with the city clerk, and the information has not come back. I cannot say that it's the city clerk's fault, but somebody is holding back the information. You pay more for the first third of water that you use, and you hit the penalty phase before you get through 1/3 of the commercial, industrial, or multifamily units even get into their bonus penalty phase of price. And I'm not being clear.
5 minutes.
Oxnard's a blue-collar community. I see a lot of faces here, and I don't see a lot of faces that attend city council meetings. The ones that do are the same ones. You need to get involved. The golf course, when we have talks about contracts and we have talks about expenses, when we have a contract that says you're supposed to audit the expenses and revenues and the city doesn't, and the caretaker and custodian of the official records says that they're supposed to audit both, but nothing happens. When you have the INCF brings questions to the city council, whether it be simulcast, the cost of environmental fines for dumping water into the drains, the levies, and the council doesn't act on it, there's something wrong with the city of Oxnard. And what's wrong with the city of Oxnard is this: nobody knows where the city of Oxnard stands financially. If you don't know where you stand financially, you can't do a damn thing. You can't promise your kids Christmas gifts. You can't promise your wife a T-bone steak dinner. You can't promise you're going to make the insurance payments next month. The city of Oxnard has $300 million of redevelopment debt identified, yet they don't include it in the budget, and they tell you they've got a balanced budget. And the answer when the city council, all of them, in my opinion, lacking the backbone to demand an answer, all of them, lacking a backbone to demand an answer, where does the $300 million and how does that affect your general budget? We don't get an answer because the finance director, and I'll use a very bad thing, but I'm going to use it. He goes, well, the state hasn't decided how we would handle that. $300 million in debt, ladies and gentlemen, and you got $6 million in assets. Most people start looking at bankruptcy. Is that what's facing Oxnard? I don't know, but I know your elected officials aren't asking those questions. I intend to be on the other side of that podium. I intend to get an answer for that. That's why I'm asking for your vote. I'll take a question.
You probably have time for one.
I've known you for years, and I've known you have been attending all the city council meetings from years back to now. I want you to tell me what you think of Proposition O and what's the worst serious thing that the city is doing now.
I'll give you the best example in answering your question. Take the time. Take the time to watch a city channel when it's rebroadcast. You're fortunate to live in a city where they rebroadcast it. Listen to a gentleman named Jim Lavery, a former finance officer for cities down in Los Angeles County. He's asking this specific question. You've identified that you're going to spend $46 million with the project, but you've only identified that you're taking in $38 million worth of funds. How can you say that you are okay with the budget? How can you say you're okay with Measure O money? Now the numbers 46 and 38 may be a shade off, but he's basically pointing it out to the city and he's asking this question. If you have committed $100 and you're only taking in $75, how are you going to make up the 25 bucks? How does that work? What I think about Measure O is being sliced and diced and given to any group that can come up as a squeaky wheel. Until you know where the money has to go, affordable housing, parks, seniors, until you know where the money has to go and what monies you have available, you are just spinning your tires in the mud. I hope that answers your question. And if I can make a statement.
Go right ahead.
I just want to say this. My background, my dad was a member of the Ventura County, the Democratic Party big shot. Went to the conventions in Miami, went to various conventions. The item that I saw last week, and I appreciate, you only let members speak. Competition strengthens the breed. When you don't let members that are not part of your party for a nonpartisan office speak, I think you miss the opportunity to strengthen the breed. Thank you very much for letting me say that.
I encourage you to join the Good Club and enhance that goal if that's what you'd like to do. Our last speaker, Dick Hopper.
Last guy, but I'm the guy you wanted to see probably because we get to get home. Thank you very much to the Good Club. I'd like to show you that I'm a member of the Good Club, so my membership money is going in the right place. My name is Dick Hawkins, and I'm running for the city council here in Oxnard. I was born and raised here, but my family got here in 1928. So when you talk about the city and the stories my dad told me, he worked in agricultural fields and et cetera, I seem to know a little bit of some of the things that Vince was talking about, and even before that. I attended the local school, Santa Clara, graduated, went to Ventura College, left there, and the wife and I and my little 18-month-old son went to the University of Denver. They had worked in the fields. So I got that idea of taking care of people, because honorable people work hard, and the fact that somebody has to take care of those type of people, and I know that's a contentious issue right now, but in my case and my brother, we took care of our family. And we came back, and I worked for 5 years up downtown here out of a finance company, selling insurance, you name it. I needed a job. I had this, my wife and my kid ate a lot, so I had to go to work every day. And I also was working in the private sector, and it's very interesting because later on I became a teacher. In the private world, you wake up every morning unemployed until you get a lead and you make a sale and so forth and so on. Later on, my brother was teaching at the Oxnard High School District, and he'd come by and he wanted to go golf, and I go, you know, I'm working until 5:30, it gets dark. And he says, well, let's coach together, and a bunch of things got together, and I went and finished up at Northridge. I got my BA, and then my credential, and then I went, during that time, working in Rio Mesa. I got my master's degree from the college, or the University now, St. Thomas, St. Paul, Minnesota. Came back, taught at Rio Mesa for 11 years, PE coach, football and baseball, and also taught government. Worked there for 11 years, and then for 19 years, I went over to the district office, and I worked in all sorts of jobs there, mainly dealing with what they call the at-risk students. And we had 16,000 students, and 1,000 of them were considered at-risk, and I had them. And 100 teachers were working in each school and so forth. So I did that for 19 years. And then I decided to run for the board in 2000. I've been there for 12 years, and I've been the sitting president 3 out of the 12 years. So tonight, that's where I was. And I guess the next question is, why am I doing this?
It's up to you.
Oh, okay. I've done these a couple of times. And
all I'm doing is keeping time up here.
Oh, okay, good. Time is of the essence. So in November, people come talk to me and say, hey, Hawkins, do you consider running and so forth? Yes.
Question for you.
Wait, do I have questions then? No.
Larry, do you mind we give you the same, everybody else the same courtesy that we gave you? Thank you.
Okay. Where was I, Larry, on my speech here?
They came to you in November and asked you if you would run.
Yeah, and I went home and talked to Mom, or my wife, who makes all the decisions, and I said, what do you think about this running for office again? And she said, well, do what you want to do. Very supportive, 51 years of marriage, so I had to do what she said. Said, go ahead and run. And so I did, and I started looking into these things, and all the things we've been talking about tonight. I've made a couple of these speeches about the city council, and what I found out is, and so I'll stop telling you what I did, and what I found out is people want to say, what are you going to do for me? Basically, you go to the organizations and they say, this is our deal, this is what we do, how can you help us? So that's where I'm at right now. And I went, for instance, to real estate. Some of us were over there the other day, and you talk to various people and what you can do, and they ask about the Mallarus, and they ask about this type of thing. So as a person that brings these characteristics to this job, is I'm qualified. I've done these things, and I've done them very successful, and people come and say, hey, you got a couple of warts in your 12 years. Yes, I do. I wasn't successful every time, but I got a pretty good record. And I'll rely on that record because we're talking about budgets. I've been in charge of a $100 million budget for the last 10 years. In our ending balance for our budget was the best in the county. Our school system had the best ending balance, and our teachers and staff people were the best paid. And today, or tomorrow, we're going to have a big press conference that says our scores are going out of the sky. So I feel proud of that for the kids, and I feel proud of the fact that our employees they bought into this thing. And I feel good about that. I feel good that the kids got something out of it. And the idea that everybody worked together. And by the way, when people are talking about doing this and doing this, I'm going to do the potholes and so forth, I looked into them. I looked into the Measure O. You read Measure O. Has anybody written a measure? There was an attorney here, O'Neill probably.
Well, 3 minutes left.
Okay, and you go, what's the language say? Because if you don't do what the language says, somebody's going to sue you. So you got to do what the language says. How is it written? And we had this in our high school deal. A guy came to the board meeting tonight and said, Hakis, why are you building another school here and this, that, and the other? Because that's what the language said to do with the money. Believe me, I will be right behind every dollar. And I've done it before and I'll do it again. Because I don't want anybody taking our money. I don't want anybody to be in this city that doesn't feel safe. I want to clean this city up by physically cleaning it. And I want to be able to be a little business friendly because when we get more revenue, we can pay for the public safety and we can do the potholes. So my whole idea of this thing is I have a phone. I don't have a land phone anymore. I have a phone. I'll give you my number like I did tonight, 758-4533. And if you have a question, call me. And it will get to the rest of the
It's up to Dick whether he wants the same as you, Rudy. Same rules, Rudy, please. Yeah.
Still at the business meeting.
Under your leadership, or your department, wasn't it under investigation for credit card misuse?
Not me. Thank you. I didn't have any credit card.
Time's up, sorry.
Oh. That wasn't mine.
I want to thank everybody for your patience. We have gone over. That's why I wanted to keep it real precise with the time. We do have a little business that the club needs to attend to towards the end of the meeting here. So let's just have a real short break tonight so we